Hello and welcome, Exiles, to the final conclusion to the Blade Trap Trickster, the build made to defeat the Void maps. So far, this character, I think I've run close to 100 Voided maps with Mage Bloods or Headhunters as the loot for doing the map, and I can tell you confidently this build does it well, and there's very few things it can die to. Now, there's maps I avoid doing because I just don't want to take the risk. And number one, that is cannot suppress. For example, our build relies on suppress and that proccing the recharge in order to give us a bunch of sustain, and suppress is just a large damage mitigation when it comes to spells. Granted, there's a lot of cannot suppress maps that are fairly easy, but I just don't want to take the risk. And you have to also consider there is a large amount of different builds playing these maps. And for example, cannot suppress is a free mod for something like an armor stacker or a build that doesn't invest into suppress to begin with. So when you have a competitive market, a lot of those cannot suppress map mods are just free mods for a lot of builds that aren't my build, and therefore they are priced competitively because of that. So largely due to that factor, even if I wanted to do the suppress map, I wouldn't make a lot of money on it. The map mods you make a lot of money on are the map mods that are hard for everybody, and that's feared with torment, with the less damage per item equipped mod. That applies to everybody. That's dangerous for everybody, and that's the maps this build can do and make a large profit margin on. As far as what we've ever died to or what this build has ever died to, for myself, I've only died 3 times. Once to the brain bomb when I didn't have Heartstopper up, once to while I was leveling when I didn't have Wicked Ward and I got stuck in a mob and I didn't have recharge, and then once to a quadruple tormented Edziri when I was kind of AFK eating some snacks. Basically, Edziri comboed the lightning storm call, and a lot of those were all overlapping because it was in the thicket map where there was a very close encounter. And they did that on top of a double flame blast all kind of at the same time. So it was a very large amount of shotgun and damage all at once. Those are the 3 teams I've died to on this character. For the most part, if you are at the wheel, if you have your hands on the keyboard and you see, okay, she's comboing double flame blast with double or giga lightning call, maybe I should jump out of this, you're going to survive. In fact, when I was fighting that at Zeri, I had tanked multiple of those attacks in a row, which is why I started getting real lazy and I was just eating and like looking at a different screen. Basically, eventually, what is it? Overconfidence is a slow and insidious cure. Eventually, my overconfidence did get my character killed, but it was a non-voided map, so it didn't really matter. If it was a voided map, I would have still played it more cautiously. Now, that being said, outside of those, the things I know this build can die to, luckily we have a scientist in the field, so to speak. His name is Sushi. Sushi is he's gonna give us a showcase of what this build can die to. There are basically only a couple things I even know of for this build dying to. And number one is a 6 proj Elder if you're against a wall. The reason this is dangerous is because one, it's a fizz attack, so it's one of our less mitigated damage types. And 2, when you get a 6 additional proj on Elder, it basically multiplies the projectiles this attack does by 7 or something. It's not just 6 flat proj, it's whatever projectiles this attack would do, plus another 6 times that, or whatever, plus another 6 rounds of it. And essentially, when Elder goes to do this attack, where Elder's spinning, if you're against a wall, it can actually shotgun. This attack in mechanics in terms of like Elder was designed in the Elder's arena where there are no walls and it doesn't end up getting this shotgun effect. But when you take it into a map like Cemetery, all of a sudden there are walls, there are trees, things like that. The projectiles can all hit that wall, and then they have an AoE, which will then all shotgun you. So let's show you real quick how quickly you can die to an attack like this, considering this is a Omega shotgun. Right now, he's next to a pillar, and he's next to a wall. He thought he was going to kill it before Elder got the attack off, but he greeted a little too hard. And you'll see here, you see this is just a ridiculous amount of projectiles coming out of this attack, and he, of course, is against the wall, and he's getting just obliterated by shotgun. Very, very dangerous. This is one of the few attacks that can kill this character. It's killed Sushi, and I think 2 or 3 of the viewers I know have died to this. Basically, Delirious gives you another 100% or 30% increased damage, and then that 6 proj multiplier. If you're against the wall, that is dangerous. But for the most part, very avoidable, something you could avoid on a regular basis. I think Sushi, even though he's died not once, but actually twice on this character, I think he still made positive money. I don't know. He made my build twice, and he died with a couple times. The other thing you can die to is there is a map mod that says Fatal after some time, which kills you no matter what your character is, no matter what your defense is. if you were in there, I think it's about a 5-minute timer from the grace period turning off. You will get a countdown. You'll see on the side here, it counts down 9, 8, 7. It's not audible, but you can see it. And if you know you're going into one of these map mods, you need to be paying very close attention to this text popping up or your timer. The point is, Sushi, I don't believe he knew it was a 5-minute timer. I think I heard he thought it was a 9-minute timer or something longer than that. And basically, he ran out of time and he died without even realizing the timer was going off. You can die to that. Those are the two obvious examples I can think of people dying. And my last and final example of people dying is Comcast. What I would call this is the best version of my build anyone put together, and almost the best version possible. There are very few things that could be better than this version of the build. And the reason I say that is because he took everything I did and he one-upped it. For example, if you notice this helmet right here, you look at the implicits, you'll notice it has 8 Fizz Take and has 2 max lightning res and cost reservation multiplier. This is essentially the helmet I'm wearing in game, which cost a lot to make. And then on top of that, he Hinekora locked to corrupt 90% reservation multiplier. This is something that would allow me to drop the reservation nodes here. Granted, I think he went for a little bit different setup with clarity and stuff. I wouldn't have done it quite this way, but the point is he used this corruption to further extend his build. But he didn't just do it here. He did it everywhere. If you look at, this is my chest piece, but if you look at the implicits, it's got 40% damage. These are the boots I have, but he has 10% movement speed. This is the ring I have, except instead of taking off the reduced mana cost, he took off the item cells for vendor and got percent in there. If you look at the gloves, these are the gloves I have. They're actually a little bit better than my own gloves. They're about 20 ES better, and they have +1 socketed. The only critique I have about the corruptions he went for is here I would have gone for a corrupted temp chains, which is a fairly solid damage multiplier, and I would have changed the reservation to grab the poison cluster here, and I would have grabbed the poison mastery, which would have allowed me to drop Herald of Agony in the build and put in something like Arctic Armor for more damage mitigation, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, every single item he did a little bit better. So if you look at the stats, he ended up getting to, I think if I go, can I click this or does it take me out? Yeah, you'll see he got to 30,000 energy shield. He took it to the absolute max. His Watcher's Eye is my Watcher's Eye, but with a 10 gain clarity mod. So the point is, he took it to the pinnacle and he still died. And what did he die to? He died to Comcast. I messaged him when I saw his name pop up in the global because I knew he was one of the people who copied my shield. And I was kind of curious what he died to. And he died to basically Comcast disconnect. I don't know what the map mods are. I didn't ask that much more. But I also asked him one follow-up question, which is, with all of this insane gear, which it would cost a fortune in Hinekora's locks and crafting the gear to begin with all this insane gear, I asked him one question: did you make a net positive on this, or did you lose most of the money you made doing maps? And he said he made a very large net positive, which means even though he lost something, a character that I would estimate to be, I don't know, 10 to 20 mirrors in value, he said he still made a large net positive, which just goes to show how much money you can make in Valve's maps if you're grinding them. Myself and my setup, I was happy with around the 100 maps I did and the character I made and the currency I farmed, but I was happy to move on and make more builds. But I want to give you this little showcase of what the character ended up like. Ultimately, we went for as many defensive layers of mitigation as I could think to put in. Things like the less damage over time mastery, things like the less damage taken while in Fizz, as much Fizz taken as chaos as possible between our helmet, this mastery, and a Watcher's Eye. And we added in less damage per int on our chest piece, along with other additions such as Born in the Shadows for reduced damage taken. We also added in, what's it called here? The 90 max all res from Melding the Flesh. We added in Curse Immunity with Balance of Terror. I put as much as I could in this character to make it as good as possible. And this is about what we ended up with. So this is the character. I'm going to give you a little showcase of what it looks like doing a park map that has feared and +6 proj, just to give you a little showcase of why I like this character and to give you some idea of what this character is about. This is not a voided map. This is just an easy map, just a chill map for the video that I want to showcase you guys, giving you an idea of what this build is good for. For example, a lot of the maps have deatomizing storms, plus like Shroud Walker or some other troll mods, like a Cortex can force you or teleport you into a deatomizing storm. Something like that you'd have to build for. So for example, our character, I see Feared's right here. I'll go to that next. I'm gonna just go find a deatomizing storm first, because I'm kind of want to showcase this. For example, our character can go in these things and just chill. A large portion of the damage is what's the word, chaos. And then if we're getting hit by spells, we're going to proc recharge and stuff like that. We can wander in those things no problem and have a good time. Now let's go ahead and find the fear, which is right over here. Give you a little showcase of this. Is just a base level fear. This isn't a feared with like, what's the word, torment or other damage multipliers. This is one that's going to be relatively low in danger. It just has the additional proj. Granted, Elder with the additional proj can be dangerous. Maybe if I stand next to a tree, that will kill me. I'm not too sure. But the point is, this base level version of the feared is not going to pose much of a threat to us. The thing that's going to be scary for us, I'll just try to get rid of some of the sound effects so it's not like super loud. The thing that's going to be scary to us is when you take feared and you add in other damage multipliers. The biggest damage multiplier of all is adding in the torment mod. It basically gives them, I don't know, a ridiculous amount of extra speed, so they're just doing their attacks way more often, and then it adds in additional dangerous mods, things that make you get cursed, things that what's the word, add in gain fizz is extra this, percent damage multipliers, other speed multipliers, things that make you more susceptible to damage. Whatever it is, it'll be a lot more dangerous than this is right here. The thing is, though, when you're doing a tormented feared, you don't necessarily just have to stand in the middle of them. You can take and kite one enemy away. For example, I'll showcase this real quick here. Like if I was trying to be like careful and trying to do this tactily, I would get one guy, and you can see, since we have the Oath of the Magi where we can see where enemies are, we can kind of see when we're kiting an enemy. So like, for example, we got this one right here on our mini map. We can tell we're kind of aggroing him a little bit. Now, with Torment, they're a lot faster and they aggro faster. But the point is, you can lure an enemy away and you can say, hey, come fight me over here one-on-one. So even though you have a damage multiplier that is upping the danger of each of those opponents by 2, 3, 4x, you can take them one at a time. You don't have to take them all at the same time. If you have a good enough setup where you can take them all at the same time, that is going to save you a lot of, what's the word? It's going to save you a lot of time, because these maps with these tank mods make the, they make the bosses way tankier. Having to unequip an item and dealing 90% less damage is very, very big. It's like for my character, I feel like we're dealing 1/15 of the damage and we're less tanky because we're doing unequipping items. So there is extra danger involved and stuff like that. And you have to beat the enemy over time. But for the most part, as far as like the tormented mods are concerned, the only real danger I ever felt like I was in a tormented map was mostly just Itziri. Itziri with the perfect combination of attacks can be dangerous. The double flame blast hits quite hard, and that in combination with the yellow storm call, that can have a lot of overlapping hits. And then, of course, if you have Elder with the additional proj and you're standing next to a wall, that is dangerous. But that's way easier to play around versus something like Torment, where they are just heat-seeking missiles. They run very fast. They're going to be up on you like that, and you have to kind of play around that, especially with map mods that say you don't have movement skills, and you have to like kind of adjust yourself accordingly. So that's the idea of the build. Essentially, just be very tanky while having some still okay damage. Have mitigation layers against pretty much every possible damage type we're going to run into. So that way, when we come to a feared, we can feel relatively safe and we can consistently do the map. That being said, there are a few things that can kill our build, like the Elder plus additional proj, like DCing. I'm guessing what happened is he probably DC'd in a Torment feared map. Right now, you can make very good margins if you're doing the 90% less Torment plus feared. Those maps are quite like, depending on which one you do, there are some that are 5 divines if they have like ultimatum in them with the race course one, or they're like 20, 30 divines. Point is, you're making a massive margin. For this build, it would take around 15 to 20 minutes, depending on how good your setup is and if you overlap some of the bosses. But the thing is, even though that's a pain to do, and that's a large amount of time in one map, you're walking away with 100 divine profit. That is unheard of currency gain per hour, so it really doesn't end up feeling that bad. So if I was going to try to kill these enemies right here, we have Elder and Sheol on us. The thing I would be doing is I'd be proccing my Despair to give me Wither on hit. I'd be popping my Malevolence, and I'd just start chucking traps. I don't really care about avoiding them. I just want to have them inside my traps, and then I want to kill them. Now, this is a feared without tank mod, so we kill those guys pretty quick. If I was doing, for example, there is a map that's a tropical island that has Torment, but it doesn't have a tank mod, and it has a Fatal after some time. It's basically a speedrun map. I can do that map in about 3 minutes. It's a little bit dangerous because it's a tormented feared, but it's something I could do in 3 minutes. Before I showcased my build doing it consistently like 10 times in a row, those maps were going for like 20 divines. And it was like, if I didn't do a carry day, well, basically I did a bunch of carry days where I showcased the map doing it really fast. If I was like, didn't do a carry day, I just bought up all those maps. I could have made massive profit on it, but it wasn't really my goal or my intention. So anyways, let's go ahead and clean up the rest of this feared. just to give you an idea of what we're working with here. But anyways, hopefully I'm giving a good showcase of what the build's made for, what the whole plan was behind it when I made the character. Itziri's over here. We'll go ahead and kill Itziri. Get Itziri out of here. Itziri, actually, believe it or not, is one of the... I think Itziri's actually the tankiest one. I'm not sure if I'm actually right about that, but I feel like whenever I did... Where's Cortex at? Might have killed Cortex or something on accident. But anyways, I digress. This is what the build's made for, is doing these void maps. I had a lot of fun with it. This is the final conclusion. I believe I saw Dreamcore made a pretty good synopsis of the defensive layers. Explained it a lot better than I could have. He's quite a good what's the word? He makes a good script, and he's very well spoken. So I would check that out if you're curious more about the defensive layers. This was just a project for me to take down the void maps and defeat them as best I could, as sort of a vengeance on the table that killed me a couple weeks ago when I was playing my EB character trying to farm currency. Anyways, this is the table destroyer. This is my Immortal. It's not, nothing's truly immortal. There's always something that can kill your character, but as close to as immortal as you could get, I think at least. This is the Trickster. I had a lot of fun playing this character, and the one thing I'll say is I'm a little bit desperate for currency, so when I stream today, I might play some more void maps with this character, because this life stacking project I'm working on is ridiculously expensive, all in the name of seeing how high we can get the life number to go, and I might have to break this character out to make a little bit more money to fund that project. That being said, I will say one more thing. I could be wrong about this, but I think the best version of this build is probably abusing the new kinetic bolt of fragmentation with instacking. I believe that's probably the strongest version of the build, just because that's a new skill that is extremely broken mechanically. There were quite a few transfigured gems that were just way stronger than the older versions or whatever, which means there's quite a few. Oh, rest in peace, Headhunter Batches, he's down. Another one sent to the void. I think there's a lot of people that are sacrificially sending characters that they're done playing with to the void, and there's a lot of characters that are actually trying to run voided maps for money. I don't really know whether or not a lot of the people I see up here are people that are changing their name or whatnot. When I saw Mr. MBO Void, that guy, I knew that name because he mirrored my gear, and I knew he was somebody that was actually hunting the void currency gain. Anyways, that's the video on the Trickster. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. As always, thanks for watching. Take care, Exiles, and peace out.